debt, your payments past due. Your life just races past you.
Wake up, the Matrix has you. Wake up, the Matrix has you.
We are enslaved like cattle, held back with chains and shackles.
Wake up, the Matrix has you. Wake up, the Matrix has you.
In debt, your payments past due. Your life just races past you.
Wake up, the Matrix has you. Wake up, the Matrix has you.
We are enslaved like cattle, held back with chains and shackles.
Wake up, the Matrix has you. Wake up, the Matrix has you.
There is a hidden agenda at play. Same old bullshit, but a different day. They're telling us lies and they're getting away, deceiving the world and it isn't okay. Get out my way, cause I'm shining the light on these bastards with every chance that I get. Attempting to wake people up to this nonsense until the elite just can't handle this shit. Sick of living life in utter madness. So sick of them treating us like maggots. Look at textbooks taught in classes. Do some research, nothing matches. Then they start waving their Hollywood wands. No sign of a brain because all of it's gone. That's where they wanted you at all along. Stuff that you think you know, all of it's wrong. These people stay lying, even though most ain't buying the mainstream manipulation, but still they stay trying. Look what happened on 9/11. Look what happened at Sandy Hook. These fancy crooks write lies as history in their fancy books.
In debt, your payments past due. Your life just races past you.
Wake up, the Matrix has you. Wake up, the Matrix has you.
We are enslaved like cattle, held back with chains and shackles.
Wake up, the Matrix has you. Wake up, the Matrix has you.
In debt, your payments past due. Your life just races past you.
Wake up, the Matrix has you. Wake up, the Matrix has you.
We are enslaved like cattle, held back with chains and shackles.
Wake up, the Matrix has you. Wake up, the Matrix has you.
Welcome to your trauma-based mind control. When will the shit end, man? I don't know. Until then, there's no place I won't go. I'm trying to wise up, rise up, and fight the foe. Yo, I don't give a fuck if you call the cops. This is over to the dose, and I'm not gonna stop. Nobody in my life is gonna call the shots, unless it's just me, so it's all or not. The way that they have us all living is sad. Humans are stupid, conditions are bad. I promise that you won't be digging the future. You're gonna be missing the shit that you had. I don't even know if we can ever even win. The only thing I'm sure of is I'll never sleep again. If you think you know anything, then you better think again. Just a part of a story that might not ever even end. Oh no, how can it be? This world is testing me. Won't give up readily. This is my destiny. I won't quit till my heart stops ticking. Searching for the part that's missing. Seeking truth, I'm on a mission. I can see, I got that vision.
In debt, your payments past due. Your life just races past you.
Wake up, the Matrix has you. Wake up, the Matrix has you.
We are enslaved like cattle, held back with chains and shackles.
Wake up, the Matrix has you. Wake up, the Matrix has you.
There is a hidden agenda, and it's hidden right up in plain sight. You can try your best to not let them get you, but the new world order's about to take flight.
The system that we live in was specifically designed to keep all the human beings relentlessly confined. Kill us and dumb us down, make us ignorant and blind. Everything you see before you is a prison for your mind. The system that we live in was specifically designed to keep all the human beings relentlessly confined. Kill us and dumb us down, make us ignorant and blind. Everything you see.
All right, everybody, welcome to the show. This is the Rose 777 channel. Hello to D-Live and hello to Facebook. And hello to my wonderful guests. We have Beth Martins here. We have Karen B. We have Cammie. And we're hoping that Steffi P. and Jen, the Truth Seeker 69, will be joining us tonight. How's it going, Beth? I love your half up, half down hairdo.
Oh, thank you. I just came off another stream, so I thought I need to look different now.
Good idea. Totally. Yeah. You know what? We're going to actually get into that topic too in a moment after I'm done introducing. We're going to talk about lots of different things related to 16. And so we're going to talk about maybe stuff that we wore and stuff that we thought and stuff that we did when we were 16, the year that we were 16. But anyway, let's introduce Karen next. What's going on, Karen B?
Karen B is on mute.
Yeah, you are. I read your lips. She's like, am I? And that's probably how she said it too. Is that how you said it? Did you say, am I? Yeah, I knew it. So you don't even need to unmute yourself. I'll just lip read for the rest of the hour. Oh, cool. Here's Steffi P. Welcome.
Yay, she made it.
Hi.
Hi.
I was waiting. I forgot to click the button that says enter the studio. I'm sitting there waiting.
Well, it's fashionably late and awesome. Welcome to the show, Steffi, and welcome,
Thank you.
Cammie.
Hello, Rose. How are you?
I'm doing great since the last time we talked, which was just yesterday.
Well, it's fabulous and perfect. I'm going on and off camera because I can't. I'm getting old, people, and I can't read the chat on my screen without doing this and looking silly. So I'm like peeking off to do messages and then trying to remember to go back on. But I have to work on that. That's ugly things happen when you get old. So we're not talking about it.
Tell me about it. Whenever I go onto StreamYard on mobile to enter the broadcast studio to like upload things or mess with the little banners and prepare, whenever you enter, you have to click allow. You have to click allow for the camera and it comes on automatically and then you have to press mute or webcam, and it's always like the way I hold my phone. I never knew that I always make this face.
Huh?
This is always the face that you make when you're getting into the broadcast studio. Everyone looks like this, I'm sure of it, because I can't not do it. So I don't want to accept the fact it's just me.
No,
Well,
it's-
what about like, oh, I didn't know that you could see like when you go to other windows. And I was live one time and I'm like looking in my computer and I thought that since I couldn't see the window of the StreamYard that I was okay, you know?
Yeah, right.
I don't know what happened to Karen, but anyway, it's the 16th episode. I'm calling it the Sweet 16 episode. I was thinking that all of us are from different walks of life, different geographical locations, different ages. I wanted to go around and just go back in time and compare and contrast what it was like for us when we were 16. Maybe if there's any trippy stories. I recently told a story about Sue Finelli, and so maybe I can tell that story again because it's so trippy, and maybe it will inspire us to think of other trippy stories that we can share as well. So, for everybody in the chat who didn't hear me tell the story on Brian's Patreon stream, I'm going to tell it again, and this is so crazy. Get ready to have your minds blown. So, Sue Finelli is from Pennsylvania originally. Now she's in San Francisco, but originally Pennsylvania. And she noticed on Facebook that there was Richard Lopez in there, who is also from Pennsylvania. So we'll come back to that in a second. When Sue was 15 years old, she was the sole survivor of a fatal car crash. 3 other 15-year-old kids passed away, and Sue Finelli was in the front seat where she should have been the worst off, but she survived. And it was a case of drunk driving and all that. Just to be clear, in case there's any kids listening, it's just not worth it. And so that was something that happened to Sue that obviously was tremendously, it impacted her. But she hadn't thought about it for a very long time because that was such a long time ago. It was in the 70s.
Wow.
So
Glad you
she-
survived, Sue.
I know! It like makes me want to cry because it's just in 1 second, like my life would be different if Sue wasn't in it. So anyway, I mean, she's inspired so many people with her being so brave and traveling and showing people that you don't have to wear a mask and stuff, and dealing with her family who has been extremely critical of her views and acting nuts. So anyway, she is at the Solar Return and she's talking to Richard Lopez, and he says his wife's name, and the wife is the daughter of the brother of one of the girls in the
Oh
car.
my God.
Isn't that crazy? So it's just, I think it's just a smaller world after all than we all would think. But anyway, there's lots of, I know that there's so much trippy synchronicities that are always going on. And so I don't know if anyone else has any cool synchronicity stories, but I don't know. I love Sue so much, and I thought that story was insane because this community is pretty small. I mean, it feels big to us, like this is one big, massive, happy family. But compared to, like, if you think about it, there's the whole like 6 degrees of separation. Is it that, or is it that we are all like-minded people who are just gonna kind of end up in the same community? Is it fate? Is it destiny? What is it? Who knows? Does anyone have any thoughts on this?
Interesting. I have some trippy 16-year-old stories, if you want to start with
Perfect.
that. Yeah.
Go for
Yeah,
it.
for sure. Yeah, my childhood is flashing before my eyes. So at the age of, I think 13, I started to go pretty wayward, and I made all the wrong friends, and started in on the drinking crowd and the drug crowd, and I made a best frenemy at that time. Yeah, really, really freaky actually, because I ended up giving complete control of my life over to her. It was a train wreck, and I turned into a teenage runaway thanks to her. And we were in the bars, and I almost got killed on the back of a motorcycle. Just I landed a night in jail, which was actually good because that separated me from her, and it gave me a chance to reflect and go, I don't think that's my beautiful friend. She's not really for me. She's just wanting to manipulate and control me. But yeah, so that was a rocky ride. My parents were calling the cops every 10 minutes, and my sister beat me up because she was mad I took the what do you call it, the limelight for all the shenanigans. She didn't get any attention. I got it all. And yeah, it was pretty big. I failed a grade of school, so I ended up a year behind. But I did manage to completely turn it around after that. It was such a powerful, I was so far off the deep end, nearly dead a bunch of times. And, having my thumb, I made it out of the city twice, hitchhiked all the way to Toronto alone. She had me stealing for her. I would never steal for myself, but I would steal for her. That's how I ended up in jail. And, so it was just nothing good was going to come of that. God intervened and said, it's over now. You do not pass go. Do not collect $200 and take a little look at your life if this is how you want things to go. So she went on like that with that life and, ended up hooking up with, does anyone know the Chocolate Bunnies from Hell as a band?
No. What kind
really?
of music is it? Is it punk? It kind of sounds like it would be a punk rock
Yeah,
band.
exactly. You got it. You got it. So she ended up being the stripper for that band and going on and changed her name. And I still have never seen or heard from her again, but I imagine she's either dead or under another name or in hiding or whatever it would be, because it was really a life of crime. But I was lucky. I got back. My family had rejected me. They considered that I was basically dead, because I had gone so far away out of family values and the actions they considered to be good and true. But after some time in a detention center, and my aunt took me in when my parents wouldn't, but things came around full circle, and I started to get straight A's in school. Just literally went the other direction. So
That is awesome. So what age did you shift in the other direction? And was
was
there
a-
anything in particular that you think was the catalyst for that particular transition?
Yeah, I think I just saw the parting of these ways. I saw where she was going. I was enough in touch with some things that I wanted to do in life and accomplish and be part of. And once I wasn't under her spell anymore, I could sort out what was me and wasn't me and begin to heal that, that there's just a severe lack of self-confidence that would allow me to go into the control of another person.
Yeah. So it was the lack of self-confidence that you didn't know what to do with yourself, and you saw this person. So what was it about her that made her so cool that you were kind of like, all right, if I'm doing it for her, like this is a path I could feel like certain of myself in. What was it about her? What was she like?
Well, she was very cool, and she wore a black leather jacket and had, what kind of boots? I can't remember what they're called, hooker
Doc
boots
Martens?
or something. Doc Martens? No, it wasn't Doc
Yoga
Martens in those
boots,
days.
sure.
No, it was like the heels and all the makeup, and she had a lot of freedom because her mom didn't care that much about her. That's the bad side of it, and she came from a broken home, and I actually think in the end she was a victim of ritual abuse, because that was one of the things that she was grooming me for, a satanic cult.
Openly, blatantly, or you kind of figured that out after the fact? That was a fucking satanic cult.
Yeah, it was. And then she was teaching me about Satanism and starting to get me in on rituals and stuff like that.
Dark.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So maybe you were kind of glamored into it because the tenets of Satanism can be quite appealing for someone who doesn't know any better, like a teenager.
Exactly.
Where it's
Yeah.
it's about me, and as long
Oops, your
My mic
sound
just
is
got
gone. Yeah.
unplugged.
Yeah.
I think someone was chewing on this cord.
It sounded like Rose started chirping.
How funny.
Yeah, yeah,
But
totally.
anyway.
But you know what the big thing was is that she pretended to love me. And I didn't have people like that around me at the time, so I was starving for love. And you could see how vulnerable that makes people, like say in the entertainment industry, when people start to venerate and adore you, you eat it up because you're this, vacuum for love. And it wasn't, of course, true love that she had. It was really, truly wanting to control me and just acting like, I mean, maybe she loved me too, but she was attached to me, and I was her, I was her bitch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sounds like
Wow,
it.
Beth.
Well, that's an interesting
Sad.
comment, Beth, because that's what is going on with a lot of teenagers. Starved for love, you know? They're going
Exactly.
through a part of their life where they're starting to detach from their parents, and instead of people realizing that that's a healthy, natural process for both the parents and the kids, and there's this resistance that goes on, and that's all healthy too. But in the past, I think parents are getting a little bit better now with recognizing that, but that's mostly what kids are doing when they're lashing out in their teen years, is looking for love and appreciation rather than being told that what they're doing is naughty and bad all the
Exactly.
time.
Exactly. That's how I turned into a badass because I only got attention when I did bad stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So I was looking for disapproval as a close second pseudo love.
I can't even imagine what it's like to be 16 today. I was very easily influenced. I definitely wanted to fit in. I was trying to search for who I was, and I was watching TRL after school, and those were the same stupid songs over and over again, like, oh, I wonder who's going to be number one today. And it was like, I remember the Backstreet Boys were number one like 100 times in a row, and Britney Spears would be number one 100 times in a row. Like, how many days of my life was that? Whoops, I'm falling just thinking of that. But yeah, and so now, like the way I responded to all of the poppycock that's going on, I'm just lucky that I'm 36 years old and went through my transformative experiences of no longer giving a fuck about what people thought and being more interested in what's right and trying to help influence people to do the right thing rather than fitting in. I just cannot even imagine what it would be like. And Cammie, you have a son who's kind of in the teenage age. So, and you've been able to observe other kids too, right? And it's more of like a mainstream
Yeah.
environment. Tell me
It's
about
amazing.
that. And then
Well,
talk about yourself.
Yeah, I'm going to start with myself and just say how
Good.
different it was because when I was 15, and that you're talking about going in the like 1979, 80 period of time, 78, 79, 80. So you had Pink Floyd, The Wall. I was the fourth of five children. From my mother was a prom queen, and my dad was the big star on campus as far as super jock that grew up in the 50s. They were the sweetheart couple. They were perfect. They were really good. They were really good people. They fell in love. They had children, and they thought that their children were going to be really good. And listened to Pink Floyd. I started smoking. And my dad was like, you can't smoke. So I would sneak cigarettes. I'd have them. He would take them and he would sit and smoke them in front of me. And they'd be my cigarettes, my menthol cool cigarettes that you're supposed to smoke like this. He was smoking them instead of his Benson and Hedges. And you couldn't say anything because it's like you weren't supposed to have them. So you can't say, Dad, you stole my cigarettes. So I started stealing his back. So every time he'd take a pack from me, I'd take a pack from him. My mom was like noticing this war going on. I'm screaming that he has no right to steal from me. And he's screaming that she got into my stuff and took stuff back and forth. So at age 15, my mom made me an ashtray and pottery class. She was actually pretty cool and said, the battle is over there, boys and girls. But I grew up with a really, really great family and great family values and people that loved and took care of me. And yet, when I didn't want to go to class, I wrote my note. I just forged my mom's signature beautifully. They didn't know. I don't even know what to say or what the reason for. I just needed to find my own way. And to me, I didn't need them to approve of what I was doing. I would just go my own way anyway. And that's what it's like. I would rather ask forgiveness than permission. And it's a sign I look for in my children and all the children I'm around. It's like, no, stop. You guys, their parents were a lot like that too. My grandparents were renegades, but I think it skips generations. And my son is wonderful. I mean, not perfect, but I mean, he's really a great kid. It's scary. He grows up in a whole different world. The world I grew up in, we had fake IDs and things like that. In at his age, you just took your ID into the liquor store, and I mean, we were little. It was everything to be an adult, to have your driver's license. When you turned 16, you wanted your driver's license. You wanted to move out of your parents' house. You wanted to start doing the grown-up things, and you're going to get there. Now the kids, it's like it's so overwhelming that they're frightened about getting kicked out of their parents' house. How can I afford a place? They can't even fathom what they should be looking for because they've got these kids so pinned in and paranoid, and these kids have been protected from everything. I mean, we all grew up on seatbelts. I mean, I grew up in the generation where the kids were standing up in the back of the pickup truck, and, things that would be child abuse now, and yet most of us made it through. We played outside at night in the neighborhood with other kids. We played kick the can. We did all of this great stuff, and the kids don't anymore. They're too scared. Mom and dad are too scared to let them go out and play or be out past dark or any of these things. We and again, maybe it's a good thing. We played pranks at 16. I remember our biggest prank is when we didn't like anybody or somebody, and a lot of us, they were like, did a prick move. We would take for sale signs from all over the neighborhood and put all the for sale signs into people's house we didn't like and wanted to move. And it was funny as hell. So,
That's a
we
good
do little
idea.
fun, harmless pranks like that. I guess you had to move the signs back, but we didn't harm anything. We didn't hurt anybody. We TP'd things a few times and we had fun, but the kids are too scared to learn or go out or have fun. It's all about memorizing and being good and racing to the next thing, and the parents aren't there for them. They can't be. We, as parents now, like with my son, I was forced to work. I was forced to race in the morning, drop him off at daycare so I could make it to my job, so I could earn the money. And this is when he was on his prime growing years. He grew up great in spite of not because of me, but it's looking at, I really did grow up under ideal circumstances. So I'm going to be the one person, I can't say I'm abused. I can't say that my parents beat me. I can't say, I mean, I have no real victimhood from my childhood. And again, it was a different world. It was a world that we had a smoking area at the high school. And in fact, you could smoke in your commercial arts classes and that. I mean, it was just a different world back then than it is now.
Yeah.
Good, bad, or indifferent.
Sounds pretty cool to me.
Yeah.
It worked better for me. It would work better for my son than right now, where they want you to line up. Jaron, by the time he went to elementary school, they had something called Hugs and Bubbles. And not only did they want the kids to wear uniforms, but the kids, anytime that you change classes or anything, you do something called Hugs and Bubbles. You do this. That way you can't touch or talk to another child while you're changing classes or that. I mean, he was brought up in a world of hugs and bubbles. And they call that yummy, hugs and bubbles. You don't get to talk to anybody or touch anybody because and your uniform is touched. It's crazy. It's not what childhood is about at all.
Mm-mm.
So it makes me sick.
So crazy.
And I can't believe he didn't last long at a non-hugs and bubbles, with that type of environment. I yanked him out of it, but I'm like looking at it saying, what? Really, this is for real? This is really going on? These kids are not supposed to reach out. They're not supposed to touch. They're not supposed to interact, all in the name of
Insanity and poppycock.
insanity. Yeah.
Lots of poppycock. I remember, I think that maybe, I don't know if 1999, well, you guys weren't in school anymore. I was the only one that was in school in 1999 during Columbine, right?
Columbine, yeah, I had friends. I used to date.
That wasn't
some
99. That
Columbine,
was
but I
95.
Yeah.
No.
98.
Columbine?
98.
Columbine was 98.
It was 98, I think. I was in Israel at the time when Columbine happened. I was visiting Israel, of all things. So I was, and this
Had to
was a
be
neighborhood
before
school.
99, though.
Okay, 98 then. I don't know why I thought it was 99, but I know Scream came out in 96 and then Columbine came out in 98 because I remember being tripped out that like Scream was happening because I always thought that when Scream came out I couldn't believe that one of the kids was the killer. And then Columbine happened and everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, the kid's a killer." And the thing that I thought was so stupid, it's just like all of the poppycock regulations that they have related to the beer bug hoax. But they called it the no touch policy.
Yeah.
And so kids were not allowed to touch each other because in some school in a different state, a couple of, freaks, like that's what I thought about them, people that were not normal, that nobody wants to kill people, but they want to make you think that this could happen anywhere at any time. And what the fuck does touching your friends, because you know how it was, everyone likes to link arms at lunch and walk around together to show who your friends are and stuff.
Yeah.
And I just remember as soon as they said no touch policy, it just made everyone want to hug and do that even more. And so we did, and we didn't even care that we were getting detention. But it was so ridiculous on the face of it. It's just hard to even imagine that. Like, what was the board meeting where they're like, "Oh my gosh, so there was a shooting, and so now nobody can touch each other, and we're going to get them in trouble for doing that." What the hell?
It's total crazy. Side note, by the way, just for fun and memories.
Rose, hold on.
Rose, dating.
Rose, you were right about Columbine. It is
Started
99.
dating right in that area.
Yeah, Eric
Or
said.
99.
It was actually 4/20, 1999.
Yeah, 420, Hitler's
So it was
birthday.
almost exactly 22 years ago. But I could have sworn that was before 1999. Come on.
Right, no,
It
it
had
was
to
right
be before
in there.
90. I feel like it was before 99. This feels like not right.
it was
to me.
Maybe it's a
98.
Mandela, because I thought that it was
99.
90. I thought it was earlier too, Karen. I thought it was way earlier, but it was only like through research for Coach 7 Radio in the 90s that I found out that it was actually 99. And when I look
That
at it in
doesn't
my
sound
mind,
right to me.
I was in junior high, so it must have been the beginning. Oh, well, it was 420. So I don't understand. Wait, so okay, I must have been a freshman in high school for the fall of 99, because I was thinking earlier because I was in junior high like 97 to 99.
Okay, Rose, and I was 36 then, 35 and 36 then, and I was just starting to meet and talk with Bob, and we got married a year later. So I was your age then when Columbine was happening, just to put this in context.
Was Bob in Israel too?
No, Bob was not, but we were, he sent me to Israel with his specialty Nextel phone so we could talk every day. And that was like think about what cell phones were and talking international, and that he provided me with a little cell phone so we could talk on the phone for like an hour or so every day while I was in Israel. So it was really cute. He was really, really sweet. That's like, again, he was quite the gentleman and wanted to make sure that I'd be safe, and that, he did it for this, so you can make sure and have this and call anybody and use it anywhere. And he was a sweet guy. I fell in love with him for a reason. But you're bringing back that memory that the Columbine and all of that was going on right at the beginning of our relationship. We'd been, dating a few months or that, and then we got married in 2000.
So if that was international news, or you just heard because you're from America? Because I imagine Israelis are like, oh, we don't, we have bombs every day, every other day here.
Well, they were living in Colorado.
I was in Colorado. I mean, I used to date kids that went to Columbine. It was the neighborhood. I went to Cherry Creek High School, and Columbine was just a few miles away from it. And the gal that worked in my office at the desk next to mine, that was even manning my desk while I was gone, her kids were at Columbine at the time. I mean, this was actually, it really hit home. And then when the day that it happened, 420, I was traveling back from Israel through New York, through St. Louis, and they were updating me every way, along the way, because then you couldn't use your cell phones, and they had no plane phones back then. That was before then. But yeah, just taking it back in time to that, because it was crazy, because I was joking that everybody's so scared that I'm going to the Middle East and this terrorist stuff is happening in my backyard.
Go figure.
Go figure.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
My mom lived in Israel for a while when she was really young. And she had a weird feeling in a bathroom and saw a suitcase there. And she just thought to herself, I have to get out of here. And apparently she left the bathroom and then it exploded behind her.
Wow.
And then another time she was on a bus and she got off the bus and there was another explosion. I'm like, Mom, I think that's someone doesn't like you.
Right.
I'm seeing a pattern here. Someone's
Or
trying to
does like
assassinate you. So
What
typical.
thought about Israel was is it's like anything else is if you took the worst of Denver or New York City or whatever and just took every crime in action and packed it full of it and said that this is what it's like. What you see on the news is nothing like it's like when you're there. The people are friendly, it's nice, it's beautiful. You have people on the beaches, and it has nothing. It has nothing to do with what they show you on the news. Again, if you travel at all, you'll know that what you see in the media and what you see in reality and what you see is the people in reality and how they're portrayed in the news. Yeah, I went onto the West Bank and I played with the Palestinians. In fact, they made jokes about how many camels to buy me. They were really, really nice people. It's amazing. The people are, wonderful everywhere. It's us that make the tags on it, not again, good and evil is a choice. A color or a religion or a group of people. There is no one group that's evil. You might have good and bad people in it, but not people are great.
Everyone says that Israel is the most fucking awesome place ever. I've never been. I could have gone. I could have gone with the birthright. If you are Jewish, there's a thing called birthright, and until you're 27 years old, you can get a free trip to Israel.
Yes,
and so what a lot of kids do is they do their trip to Israel, and then they ditch the group and they travel all over Europe because as long as you're over there. And that's what I my little sister, she did that, and she did that with the $1,000 I gave her from what I won on Let's Make a Deal.
Yeah, when I was traveling in India, I met so many people from Israel that were doing exactly that, what you said. So yeah, they were amazing.
I wish that I took advantage of that, but I didn't give a shit about it because I just looked. I thought of Israel as a place that represented organized religion, even though people were telling me all these other cool things about it. Like my mom, for example, she was living on a kibbutz where everyone takes turns with chores and they make challah together and it's communal living, which didn't sound like there was anything wrong with that. It sounded really cool.
I stayed at a kibbutz for 3 days, and it was the most, amazing. You get to stay in little cottages on it and sing to guitars and go out and garden and do food and different things like that. Was part of my Israel experience. I went over for business, and because I had never been there before, the owners of the company I worked for said, this is really a chance of a lifetime, and they're like, for an employer that I got, they were Jewish. I wasn't Jewish. They were like, you can get to go places that we are not allowed to go. Even you can go over to the West Bank. You can do this and that on the different tours. But I booked tours, for me. The whole time I was there, I got to do things, and the tours I went on were really great. They were international tours as opposed to a certain religious group or certain that we had. The tour guys are amazing. They speak 12, 15 languages. They ask what language you speak on the bus, and they do your tour guide in the different languages. And on some of the buses and that, I was the only English speaker. So I'd get to sit on the front. They do it in Spanish and Italian, and then he'd sit and for you, here you go in English. But I get to float in the Dead Sea. I got to go to Capernaum. You got to Haifa, all of the different places, absolutely amazing, beautiful place. I fell in love with it. I fell in love with Haifa and the people, the beaches of Haifa. They make jokes there that Jerusalem prays, Tel Aviv plays, and Haifa works. So you go to Jerusalem, everybody's in their religious. You go to Tel Aviv, they're in the gold chain smoking, and they're at the beaches in their bikinis and this and that. But you go to Haifa, and Haifa, which works, you have the grandparents at the beach with the grandchildren and volleyball and not chains and disco music, but just families playing and picnics. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place.
That is so awesome. I want to move on to Karen now. Karen, I want to ask you a question I think I already know the answer to. When you were 16 years old, were you the same, fuck the fucking fuckers, rebel, I don't give a fuck, I'm, gonna win? Is that how you were? Or were you, an innocent little flower that had to bloom into the badass that you are today?
I was definitely not as much fuck the fucking fuckers as I am now.
Oh.
But I was.
Okay.
I was into punk rock and metal and, going and hiding out in the back of the high school and smoking joints. And
Did you get caught? Like, what about your parents? Did they care? Were they cool parents or were they strict? Did you have to hide? Did you have to lie to them? Like Jason's
well,
daughter never has to lie to us. Like she just doesn't have to because like we didn't do that to her brain.
I did have to lie, but I had a single mother. My dad wasn't around, so I was raised by a single mom, and she worked all the time. And so I was one of those children that had like the key. I was a latchkey kid. So I just went home and like unlocked the door and let myself in from like second or third grade, maybe third grade on.
Man, that's pretty young.
It's the age my daughter is now, and I look at my daughter and I think about that now, and I'm just like, wow, like I would never. Like Cammie says, it is a totally different world. It's a totally different world now.
So, what do you think happened first? Do you think that parents got worried about letting their kids do what they felt they could do when they were younger? Did that happen first, which contributed to the different world, or did the different world contribute to that? Like when that started to happen, did it start to happen for a good reason? Or was it kind of like the world like shifted to match the people's poor expectations of it?
Well, I was really young at that time, so I don't really know, but I can just say what I think, maybe hindsight.
Yeah, man. That's what I'm asking, man.
Well, like where I grew up, I grew up like this is when I lived in San Jose in the Bay Area because I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area and like, before the big Silicon Valley boom. When you could still buy a home there for a relatively reasonable price. And then I kind of grew up there and I was young, through that whole thing, right? Because I was in the 80s and 90s and that was when I was in junior high and high school. And towards the end there, the Bay Area just got gnarly. There's so many more people, so many more homeless people, prices shot way up, like that whole thing, that whole Apple computer, Microsoft, Silicon Valley thing just ruined the Bay Area, just fucking ruined it.
You must be glad that you're in North Carolina now for your kids.
Well, yeah.
What if they wanted to just go out? What if they said like, Mom, I think I'm going to go for a run? Like if they wanted to go for a run, like go down your driveway and then turn left or right on the main street. Like, would you just be like, oh, that's good. That sounds healthier. Would you be like, hell no?
I'd be like, no, hell, because even though I live in the country, it's a freaking like highway, right?
Yeah.
Cars drive really fast on that road. They speed, big trucks, they speed, right? So actually my son asked me, he's like, can I ride my bike to my friend's house? His friend lives like a mile down the road. I said, no. Because I'm afraid, it's not that I don't trust him, I don't trust other people.
Right. For sure.
I feel like he's fully capable of riding his bike to his friend's house a mile away, but I can't trust that somebody's not going to be looking at their cell phone and run my kid over on the side of the road. And so, no, you can't ride your bike, And I told him, I said, I'm sorry about that, but I'll drive you.
That is a really good point with cell phones. Cell phones exist now, and that changes people's ability to drive.
Right?
Without paying attention.
People do not pay attention. They have people
Karen,
are so distracted.
Stephanie.
It's so funny that you say that because I just had I've thought that many times before, but I had the exact same thought last night because I was like driving down the street and I see these two kids kind of young and they're about to cross the street and they look all confident. They're just all talking and I'm like, in my opinion, I thought about that. I wouldn't allow it because it's just like you said. It's not about being paranoid. All it takes is one person. And would it be worth risking my child's life just to let them ride their bikes across the street? No, because, it's just they're looking at their cell phones and, all it takes is just one person, not paying attention, and it's over.
Yeah. I might give him a little bit more leeway when he gets older with that stuff, but right now at 11, no.
Karen, do you remember what you did for your 16th birthday?
Not very much. I mean, went out to dinner with my family.
That's cool. What
I don't
about
know.
you, Steffi?
What did I do for my 16th birthday?
Yeah, what did you do for your 16th birthday?
God, I don't remember. It's funny. Everybody's just telling their age in the chat. Like, everybody's just like happy to like tell everyone exactly when they were born.
Yeah, I love it.
Hey,
That's cool.
Rose, in my
Yeah.
time, everybody on their 16th birthday, what did you do? I got my driver's license. And we had a dinner, and the parents and everybody at 16, you're allowed to drink at the dinner table. I mean, it was just it was
Right, you get a beer.
You get
I got a beer.
Yeah.
And I failed my driver's license the first time I took the test.
Oh, what did you do? Did you hit the curb with your wheel?
No, you know what? There was road construction and the lanes merged and I didn't use my blinker. And I was like, I was just like, it just came up all of a sudden. I was like, oh my goodness. And I just, went
So,
into the
do you
next
use your
lane without
blinker now?
putting my... Most of the time I do try to use my blinker, yes.
Most of the time.
I can't say I use it 100% of the time because that
Well,
would be
I
a
understand
lie.
if you're on the freeway at 3 a.m. when no one else is on the road. But it's
Right.
not like you just cut people off
If
without your
there's
blinker.
somebody behind me, I will use my blinker. If there's nobody around, I don't bother because there's
Exactly.
Right.
nobody
You don't
there.
need to. Why would
That's
you?
good, Karen. That's real good. Why would we keep doing that, please?
Because they can get you on camera now for sinning, even if nobody is there, Karen. It's
Right.
stupid world.
No, the
I didn't get
blinker-
mine when
the
I was
blinker.
my driver's license when I was 16. I didn't get mine until I was 18. But when and also when I got my car when I was 18, I totaled my first car 3 months later.
Oh,
But I learned my lesson about driving. I realized when I got in my accident that I didn't know how to use my mirrors. I don't know how I passed my driver's license with flying colors, but after my accident, I sure as fuck never, I was always obsessed doing the smog, like, signal mirror over the shoulder. What did the G stand or what did it stand for? Anyway, I just do all of the things now. I obsessively, and also I wore a hat during my driver's license. So this is a trick for anyone out there who wants to get their driver's license. You wear a hat, and then that way it really exaggerates that you're looking in both directions as you're going through an intersection. See?
Do they really look?
Oh no, I turned my head and I looked.
Oh, that's excellent, Rose. That's
Well,
really
I
cool.
failed. I failed my first time too, but I went through all the parallel parking, and I was doing such a good job, And then there's this one light that turns left into the parking lot where the DMV is. And then the guy asked me after we parked. He's like, I pull in. He's like, I said, how did I do? He said, how do you think? I said, I think I did well. He goes, you did. You actually did perfectly up until the light. I said, what did I do? He said, you ran the red light.
Ooh,
I didn't
you
notice.
even know.
I was all nervous.
Aw.
Aw.
Yeah, see, that's what happened to me because I did very well with parallel parking. To this day, I can parallel park any fucking car. Any car I get in, I can parallel park it. Even my friend had a big ass boat car. It was like one of those Caprice things, and she was trying to park it and she couldn't. And I was like, get out, let me do it. And I was able to parallel park it. But it was just that stupid cones and the merging lane and all that shit got me.
Oh, that's funny. I still to this day do not parallel park well, but when I took the test back in the 70s, parallel parking wasn't as tight as it is now. You could usually front right into those spaces, and what can they do? So, yeah, I passed it on my 16th birthday, and it was a huge rite of passage for me. It was huge. It was on my birthday, and it was important.
Oh, Cammy, I love it. Beth, what was your first car, and was it the kind of car that you wanted? Did you get it when you got your license, or did you have to earn a car after getting your license for a while?
No, I was lucky at the time. My parents had more money than brains, I guess is how the explanation goes. And they bought us a little Chevy Sprint to share with my sister and I, so we had instant access to a car. And I think I passed my test right off. Now I'm breaking a lot more traffic rules than I used to because it's like you, Karen, that if there's actually no harm by doing this, then I'll do it. Right? Like, let's think this through. And it just, I was in the forest one time and someone made fun of me because I signaled. Like, we were driving through the forest and there's like nobody behind us and, no traffic at all. But there was this automation running that I followed these rules.
Yeah.
But less and less. And now I know how to speak to it if I get pulled over and my driver's license says without prejudice. So I'm not involved in their contracts anymore.
Yeah, that is so cool that you corrected your license and your passport. I would love for you to talk about that just for anyone in the chat.
Yeah, what did you put on your license?
2 words, all caps, without prejudice. Now, the words themselves don't work for you. You have to know what they mean. You have to know how to navigate the situation. Otherwise, it's just words on a page, and the cop who pulls you over probably doesn't know what they mean. They might. But the meaning of it is that I waive no rights and I agree to no performance in this contract. Otherwise, when you sign anything, your license or a ticket or you name it, then it's your value. You're creating a security, and then they take it off, and there's a charge against you, and you're the debtor in the situation. So this eliminates that if you know about it. Now, for example, if I was pulled over by a cop and they said, "What's your name?" I wouldn't, or they asked for my driver's license, I would actually hand them my passport that's also signed without prejudice. Because right away it puts me in a higher jurisdiction than them, and they might at that point decide to leave me alone. Also, if anybody tries to write a ticket, you ask them what's the incident report number, because then all of a sudden they realize that not only are they going to become personally liable in the situation, but they will have lots of paperwork to do. So just little tricks that give you more confidence. Even, I was terrified to go get my driver's license changed, and I'm literally shaking, and I'd been just releasing my ass off, and it went fine, and nobody even bothered to ask why I was doing it. They are
So
stopping people now.
you actually go to the office and have them put that on your license?
No, I said I was there to renew my driver's license because I was changing my signature. So I got a new picture done. They issued a new thing, and I signed, with my name at the bottom and without prejudice on top. So it's just sort of touching it, so it couldn't be cut off.
Right, because they'll try to do that. They will try to cut off anything that you do. So you always want to touch the bottom of your signature to the line so they can't cut it off.
Exactly. And that
All
was no
rights
big
reserved.
deal.
Why not do all rights reserved? Some people do that.
Apparently, the without prejudice is more powerful. It's just another step regarding
Good
the
to
contract.
know.
Yeah. You waive your rights and your obligation to perform in their contracts.
Nice. That's so badass. And what about the passport? Talk to us about the passport.
Yeah, so that was interesting. I made the application 8 years before my passport had expired because it was a brand new 10-year. And I put in the application, and then they phoned me and said, "No, sorry, you can't do this." And I'm like, really? And they said, "Well, okay, we'll send it over to securities." And that doesn't mean the security guard. That means literally securities where they're monetizing your all caps letters. And they said, "Oh, well, if we send it over to them, we're going to charge you whether you get it or not." And I went, "Oh, fancy. That sounds like extortion." And she's like, "Oh, well, then we'll just talk to securities for you." I said, "Okay." And then I get a call in another week, and they said, "You can't do this for another 8 years until you prove that your signature has changed." And I said, "Oh, well, I just happen to have my driver's license right here. I faxed it over. I had my new passport in a week. Now I'm doing my son's. And instead of using his birth certificate as his ID, I'm using his long form birth registration.
Is that like the certificate of live birth equivalent in Canada?
Exactly.
Cool.
Exactly. Yeah, after you're born, and they get your parent to fill that out, and that's what you use to get your birth certificate. But it's proof that you're a living man or woman.
Yeah. And how hard was it to get that? Because sometimes people email me as if they've won the freaking lottery, like to show me that it finally came and they're like, look, it's real. I'm like, why are you acting like you weren't sure that it existed? You are alive. That is not disputable.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Yeah, it was a tiny bit hard to get just because COVID had made a mess of things. When I would call them, they won't answer. When I email them, they won't answer. I went down there, I sort of busted in, and I was just a bit of a bully about it. So they took my application fine, and then I stole their whole stack of applications that was really hard to find on the internet for anybody who wanted it. When I tried to do my son's, they ignored me completely. So I ended up just starting fresh with a new application, noticing they hadn't charged me, and that was pretty quick. But they are getting hip to these things now because we're part of fairly big law groups. You can see how they are starting to throw monkeys in the wrench, if that's the right way to say that expression. I don't know, but starting the auto pack dealers. That's what we are in Canada for our automobile insurance. Are now refusing people to do this. Right, so you have to pick and choose. People are literally driving out of their city to go to the right dealer. I've got a good one down the street here for anybody in Manitoba. That they're not questioning anybody, and they're just saying, but why is everybody suddenly doing this? And I'm like, yes, that's awesome.
That is so freaking awesome. I have a random question for Steffi P. Steffi P, you don't have to come on camera if you don't, no pressure. But you have some pretty badass daughters who are they're in their 20s ish, and they're just totally aware and so beautiful and intelligent. Now, when you think about yourself back when you were 16 and your daughters when they were 16, how would you compare? Do you see yourself in them? Do you think you have a similar personality? Do you feel like you did a good job and so you made them better than you? Or what do you have to say about the differences between you and your kids at the age of 16?
What a great question. Thank you. Yeah, my youngest just turned 21, and I'm very proud of them because I guess they, I don't know, are they like me? Well, they both know where they are and aren't like me. And there's certain personality traits in a lot of ways that they will remind me that I fucked them up and things like that. But as far as being a parent goes, like, I don't really mind the fact that that they, that I would rather they recognize the issues that, where my faults were as a parent, where I did them wrong, always with the best intent. But I'd rather they work on those things and heal if there's any issues in them or whatever. I'd rather they work on it younger than like a lot of people go into adulthood with all of these issues from childhood. But
they go into adulthood and they get married and divorced and they fuck up a whole bunch of lives first.
Right. So, but as far as parenting, I did my best. I mean, I did my best to I started by reading what to expect while expecting, and then what to expect like the first 5 years, I think it was. And just,
I read those books too.
Yeah, just obsessed over trying to do everything perfectly as a parent. But, you learn as you go how scary that is, huh? But try to not to criticize and try to let them be who they were. I think it helped that there was 5 years difference between them. But what were you? Okay, so can I get to the childhood thing? You were talking about being 16.
Well, I just wanted you to compare, like, when you think about how you were as a 16-year-old compared to your kids as 16-year-olds, how do you compare, like, in your behavior, your personality, and just anything that comes to mind when you look at your kids and compare that kind of, like, that age, that time of your life when you're 16 years old? In mindset, what was going on in the world probably has a huge impact, so I wouldn't imagine it to be completely identical at all, especially since you're different people. But, I'm just curious. I know it's kind of a random, weird question.
Yeah, well, when I was 16, we had fire drills. We didn't have media telling us every single child on the face of the planet that someone can just burst into your classroom and shoot you and everyone at any minute. So the terror that they put on kids these days, it's horrendous. Really, it's just so completely sad. But as far as the difference, everyone says that the kids are more sheltered nowadays, and there's pros and cons, I think. But the difference, one big difference in the kids today that I see compared to back then is, when the parents tend to be a little bit looser about all their restrictions and things like that, the kids have more freedom to be themselves, to express themselves. They tend to lash out a little bit less. So I, as a teenager, was always lashing out, looking for something. I think I probably sounds like I was friends with some of the same people Beth was, always like, we used to hitchhike around and just get in trouble. I had friends who used to hitchhike down to Hollywood, girls that would hitchhike down to Hollywood at 15 years old. I was never allowed to go out that late. So, but then my mom actually, I went to a continuation school. So that's where they took all the kids who didn't do well in public school because they were bored and understimulated, and they threw them all into this worthless school where they just gave us worksheets to do and sent us on our way. So it was basically a waste of a lot of intelligent kids that didn't fit in.
Yeah, in Santa Barbara, we called that middle college. That's what they called the packets. The kids that got to just not drop out, but they just like transitioned to middle college, and all it was packets.
Oh, really? Yeah, this was continuation where they just like throw papers at you and scribble on the paper. People would scribble on the paper and turn it in, and you graduated based on hours. And it was just such a demeaning thing for a child to go through. But anyway, my parents then became the head of a parenting group called Tough Love, if you can imagine what that is, where they were helping the other parents deal with, what back then a teenager was, misbehaving. And they would do things like ground you for months on end and send you to someone else's house to live where you didn't even know the people, lock you out of the house in the middle of the night. It was basically anything that was like hardcore discipline for a teenager. So of course I got made fun of for all that. But yeah, I just feel like there's a little bit less of the need to lash out and get it negative attention when children are more supported, and you don't have to obviously you need to have boundaries and you need to guide them, but you don't need to bring down the axe on them every time they step out of line. That's what I think.
Nice. Thank you for that, Steffi.
It didn't help is what I'm saying. Like the more parents came down on their kids and punished them, and it didn't really seem to help. It doesn't seem to help. Love is really the answer.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in positive reinforcement for sure. After going to the boot camp that I went to, where it was all just like you're bad, and you're not in control, and you have to accept that you are not in control and it's all your fault. And I really ate it up. Like I accepted it at the time, and it took a very long time to realize, maybe that wasn't exactly the best way of handling that.
Yeah, the reward punishment system is absolutely fucked. I'm sorry. I have not been able to use it on my kid from the earliest days when people were saying, oh, he's not potty trained yet. Well, you should go and get something to bribe him with. And I did. And then I came back and I went like, wait a minute, if he can't do this or won't do this, I don't care which, then I'm going to have to withhold this reward? That's ugly. I'm not doing that.
And stupid, because children automatically really do potty train in their own time, and
Yep.
there's no difference if they potty train at 1 or potty train at 5. There's not any other issues with it unless you really enforce it. I do know as a parent with Jaron that I was free with. I made no big deal about sugar, like candy in the house, Halloween, and things like that. And almost every single one of his friends were entirely banned. Could only have sugar-free soda. Could not have anything like that. And my son has no issues with sugar whatsoever. If he's given a choice between a candy bar and a banana or an apple, he's going to take the piece of fruit. And every time on that. But his friends, as soon as they get around, they come over to my house, they sneak it. They actually will sneak and do things. And same with every bit of money they have, they do on things like that. They make little junk food. You should see the little junk food bags that they'll stop at the store and bring over. And it's like, don't eat this in the house. And what is this? But the children are like taught to do this. They're taught to hoard, and they're taught the bad habits and away from having it banned, when really if the parents wouldn't have made it something a forbidden fruit, there's really no interest in it.
Yeah, it's fruitless. It just makes them feel defeated or artificially pumped up. And then what they do in life, they don't do things to satisfy themselves. They do it to satisfy you, or worse, out of fear of punishment. Right? So that's not a relationship that you want with a child.
Right, or they reward themselves with getting candy, thinking, well, candy is used as a reward for me in only a special situation. So if I want to feel good about myself, I relate eating candy with feeling good. I mean, again, you program the children with that behavior. They're not puppies.
Wait, isn't it so crazy that people who are trying to take care of their children would even allow them to have sugar-free soda?
Yes, that's
poisonous.
completely.
I never gave my children any type of soda, and now they still to this day, they don't even care to have it. Like if they get offered fizzy soda drinks, they don't want it because they're like, oh, it's fizzy.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's just not a big deal, or not you just didn't make a big deal about it. It wasn't there. They're not used to it. But if you sit there and say, oh, only if you do something really good, you can have this soda as a treat, as a special reward. You be good and you get this. Again, it's crazy. It's not sound reasoning. Just like diet sodas are not sound reasoning for your body. When your body gets flavors and things like that, it produces the enzymes, it gets things going. So when you give it 0 calories after doing all of that work, it gets mad at you. And you know what it does? It says, I don't trust you. You put these flavors in my mouth. I don't trust that there's really nutrition in here. So I'm going to store everything as fat just for those times that you give me this stuff that there's nothing in it. You train your body to be fat by eating diet sodas. I mean, you are training your body not to burn fat, to store it. If you want to see somebody that has a weight problem, you see it. That's somebody that orders that Diet Coke. Granted, they usually order that Diet Coke with the large order of French fries and the double Whopper with cheese, but they still order that Diet Coke.
Yep. They all seem to do that. I don't know why that is.
Yeah, and they removed all of the fat from food and added sugar instead, right? Which is a really poisonous combination, because it's the fat that allows you to digest that sugar slowly, so it doesn't like go off like a bomb in your blood system or in your bloodstream. So yeah, I'm all about the fat. I eat more fat than anybody, and sometimes it's just to prove that you don't put on fat because you have fat in your diet. If anybody's still stuck on that illusion about dieting, it's bring on the fat. The more fat you have, the ultimately the less sugar that your body's going to crave, because you've got sustainable energy in your system.
Right. That's basis
correct.
for the keto diet. It's not really the diet I follow strictly, but I found that basic diet is what I tend to go to.
Rachel, everything you ever say makes me laugh so freaking hard. but you know what I feel like when I read that? The first thing I thought was like, you know what, Rachel? Knowing what I know about what happened to you in the hospital, if Rachel got messed up by antibiotics. And I don't even know how to describe it. Like, you're going to have to type it out, Rachel. Like, she went through such hell because of antibiotics. And as someone who also has been, like, I feel permanently screwed up from antibiotics, like, it'll just take a whole lifetime to try and rebuild the gut biome and stuff. Like, we need fat to, like, hug our bodies that were I feel like it like shrivels up your like soul, and like we need like fat to like insulate us. So yeah, just hang on to it. That is
Wait,
good. It's good for our
wait.
brains.
The
There
other
was
thing,
no, there
yeah,
was
the other
another
thing.
funny comment. Sorry, Cami. There was another funny comment in the chat a while back, and I'm still laughing.
I
Like,
must have missed
and
it. Tell
it
me.
actually wasn't Rachel this time. I don't remember who it was, but Beth was talking about like potty training rewards, and somebody typed in the chat that pooping is its own reward.
It really is.
That was
I saw that
exposing Ma's
comment, too.
tricks. I saw it too. I almost highlighted it, but then I was just like, I don't know if I want to put the word poop on my screen.
No,
Absolutely.
it totally is.
Yeah, the other thing is that we've really like messed up on what we think is beautiful, and we do airbrush lies and call this what you want to really do and aspire towards, and you're not beautiful unless you're this airbrush lie, which is not real people anyway. So again, our media idea of beauty is way different than when it was in the past. Something fed to us again. Pay attention. It's healthy to have a little bit of fat storage on you and have something to work with.
Yeah, I think that when your gut has been like traumatized, it makes you mentally crazy too. And so the more fat, the better for your brain, just to like insulate all of, because your brain is just fat, right? What is your brain other than fat?
Your brain means
Yeah.
fat. Yes.
Yeah.
So, Rose, do you think there's something really to the saying full of shit, that when you're full of shit or constipated, I mean, you're just really messed up, you're full of shit?
Seriously.
Seriously, your gut's messed up, you're full. I think it is. I think it will make you crazy. So I think full of shit is a mental condition.
Yeah.
I'm going there right now.
You're poisoning. Yeah, you are poisoned. Your brain is poisoned by an over
Correct.
fecal matter. There's too much fecal matter, and it's
In your
poisoning
system,
you.
you're full of shit.
That makes perfect sense.
Perfect
to me.
sense to me. Me too.
Yeah, exactly. While we're on that terrible subject, I think some of you know that I found worms in masks. I tested 9 masks,
Yeah.
and then it was interesting because I stepped back. I try to be really rational about this. I'm not looking to create a big mess. I sort of did already, but with the school, and then I just kind of sat back and went, okay, my kid has been wearing these for short amounts of time in and out of the school. He says only. For the better part of, I don't know what, 6 months or however long it's been since they've made them do that. And he has no symptoms. Like if they are parasites, then he's not having the classic symptoms of having parasites. And I've been around him the whole time, and I don't have any of those symptoms. And his dad, the same thing. So I was just kind of looking. There hasn't been any like mass takedown. It is possible on the one hand, the best case scenario, that they are just parasites that have always been around, but now we're looking for shit. And everything comes from China, and I don't doubt that country is infested with parasites. Maybe we are too. But I did have a couple of days after the 9th mask, I did have a sudden attack, a gastro attack, and I never have them, and there was no reason for it. And my body just went like, boof, whatever, it's just like, this is over. We're going to do a quick exit. And then I felt like $1 million after. So there was something needed to get out of my system in a hurry. And, so you can trust your body to deal with things. Now if they're nanobots, I have no idea. I think all I know is borax or boron as a cure for that. But I'm interested because we aren't seeing a whole lot of symptoms unless people are just not talking about them.
So I saw that, and I wanted to ask you some questions about that. Did you like have to go through were you going through a pack and you just found like a random one, or like how, I know people are finding these, but how often are they coming up? Are they just random, or?
I don't know. So I had 2 masks from the summer when I went to the US, and they were just in my car, so I tested those. My kid will get in my car with his school things, so I grabbed a couple of those, disposable ones, and then he had 4 cloth masks. So I tested all of them. His dad went out and bought a new one, thinking this was going to be okay, and both new ones I tested had them. So 9 for 9. Now I know Rose tested and didn't find any, and other people, when McCroy tested and did find them. So there does seem to be some kind of randomness going on with it, and they're a little bit hard to see. You've got to use Snapchat to get greater magnification. But they were definitely critters in there. Lots of strands that just easily could be fibers and they weren't moving and nothing happening. But then all of a sudden there's a motorer like going across the dish with volition. And there's nothing else moving. Not even the fuzz at the top of the water is moving. So they're going somewhere. They're doing something.
Oh, that's disgusting.
I know. It was horrifying, actually. I was horrified to find them.
Wayne put the masks that he tested over a boiling cup of water, and then I think he did varying temperatures, and it does seem like the heat makes them wiggle and animate more, and it definitely seems like it has, like you said, Beth, volition. It has purpose.
Yeah, I'm sure
It's
once it
very
senses
creepy.
around body temperature, they get activated.
So yeah, my theory is that it's their human breath that is making them come out, and that it's shooting down into their lungs and causing like an upper respiratory disorder or bacterial infection or just heavy metal toxicity that can interact with EMF. Like it could be any number of things, and I wouldn't be surprised if people started testing these things with a microscope, which we're actually looking into, finding people to do that or getting a microscope ourselves, that there might be many different things going on, because that is how the controllers do it. It's always a full spectrum attack from different directions in order to confuse people so that people will argue. Like Karen wants to say, oh, this is what the fibers are made of, and I'm not. I mean, we wouldn't do this, but this is what they want us to do. Me and Karen are arguing with each other about how the shit's killing us, when we really need to just agree on the fact that it's all bad.
You just summed it all up right there. That's their application, and has been their application for pretty much everything. And it's kind of like a lot of people in the movement, in the community right now, I'm noticing they're completely unaware of what is being done to them. Very, very intelligent people in that. Okay, so let's say, since we've talked before about like abuse, okay? An abuser, whatever, call it a narcissist, whatever you want. Like when they come into a relationship, they're usually going to slowly condition you like the boiling frog, right? And they'll start out by making little suggestions. Let's say you're not overweight, but let's say the abuser starts suggesting to you that you're looking kind of fat, and you start looking at yourself and you're like, well, I guess I am kind of fat because, whatever. You take anything. You will eventually and slowly convince yourself. And then you end up arguing with that person about what turns out to be something that doesn't exist, where they can actually convince you something exists that doesn't exist, either in your personality, your physical appearance, whatever. Well, the same thing is being done right now. It's not only being done by like the controllers, but it's being carried out by the masses. So there's all these people that are going around in the community. Some of them are doing it, maybe they are plants or whatever, but others are going around and starting to discuss things like, for instance, it's like discussing the behavior of the globe when you don't believe in the globe, or you're discussing this virus going around when we don't believe in it. There's a lot of things right now that are going on that are being discussed between people. And that's where we got to be careful not to get pulled down into these discussions where people are on Facebook and they're like, a lot of people say, I can't believe the gut, we're losing our rights. We're doing all this. We know that. But then they'll say all this for a virus that's only whatever 0.001%. And that's fine if they believe that, but we don't believe that. We don't believe that there's anything abnormal. Most of us do not believe that there's any virus. We just know the whole program is set up. So if you're actually believing that there is a virus behind the program, a lot of those, which is fine if they want to believe that, but they're coming from an angle that it's an overreach. So the government, which the message behind that is the government's trying to help us.
Right.
It's trying to get rid of this virus. And I totally interrupted you, Rose, but you hit the nail on the head when you said that, because that's exactly what they do with everything. They create these arguments back and forth to distract from the bigger picture, which usually is it's all of these combined. It's all of these things.
Exactly. And then I also thought about volume, right? So, maybe you get one of those little worms in your system or a couple of those worms, but what happens accumulatively over time, right? When you start to become overwhelmed and your body has to start to really struggle against those things. So they don't mind waiting for results, right?
Right. And the people that are full of shit are going to have a harder time expelling those kinds of things than the people who aren't. So everyone do coffee enemas and
It's going to be a constant struggle to constantly defend yourself against these things, because they're poisoning the environment is poisoned on many levels. I mean, they're spraying the skies, it's in the food, it's in the water.
Yeah.
They put it wherever they can put it.
Now they're
You know,
injecting. Yeah. No, I asked.
And it's
sorry.
not to say like everybody should be afraid of it. It's just going to be a constant thing. It's just a constant maintenance thing. You're going to have to always work to detox and cleanse yourself of these things. And it is important, because you can't let it build up in your system, because if they do build up in your system, these materials, and it could possibly be programmable matter. Most likely that's what it is, some sort of programmable matter, and it has a program in it. And if you get a buildup of this material in your system, they're going to find each other, and then they could be building something.
Exactly. Yeah, I wrote.
You don't know.
No, exactly. I wrote Berlando just because I was a little freaked out and wanted to know if he had any ideas about it. And he said only what we're seeing out there. He had no thoughts, but that he is going to investigate when he's got his lab better set up. What he said he is really worried about is the quote unquote shedding that is going around right now, which is no shedding at all. It's really, I heard it called transmission. It's a more accurate way to say. Christiane Northrup was talking about that. But what do you guys think? Are you having anybody with those kind of problems?
I have felt absolutely fantastic in the realm of things that have to do with colds and respiratory stuff for an entire year. My mom gets vaccinated. She comes and visits me. Like, you can hear it in my nose right now. Like, ever since my mom left, after I was hugging my fully vaccinated mom, I've just had like a wee bit of a stuffy nose. And luckily I have really strong lungs and I have absolutely no problem breathing, no cough, just like a little bit of sorry to change the subject, but I'm not really. Isn't it true that it's not good to blow your nose?
I think it's the other way around.
Are you sure? Because Karen, I'm wrong?
You got to get it out.
Got to get it out.
Get it out of there.
Your body's,
Don't
your
hold
body,
that in.
yeah.
That's what that is. That's why your nose is running. It's because your body is excreting toxins through that mucus in your nose. You have that's what it needs to get it out.
That's what I always thought. I swear to God, I always thought that too. And then someone said that it's bad to like blow really hard and try and shoot it all out, and that what you should do is you should just let it fall out and dab. And I was like, well, you're making me feel like an asshole if I don't do that, because the way you're describing it, you're making it sound like it's really poor etiquette to blow my nose, because I love the feeling of really getting it out.
Well,
I'm going to do it right now.
So funny.
Rose, if you haven't blown your nose since your mom left, then we'll give you a minute so you could go do that now.
I have. No, I love to blow my nose. I just haven't for the past hour and 18 minutes.
I do want to share one thing. My dad, he was like this Olympic nose blower. You could hear him across the block. He was blowing his nose. And then in his later years, he did start getting very severe nosebleeds, like he'd have to go to the hospital to cauterize. So I think there is a little bit of a caution there not to blow so hard that you blow your brains out. And I'm kind of similar. Like I would really get a lot of gusto in that, and I've backed off since seeing what he went through.
Karen, didn't that just happen to Tommy? Something similar?
I don't know.
Something on Facebook that he posted because, yeah, I think that's...
Which
Oh,
Tommy?
Tommy. Yeah, that's right. He said he was coughing up blood.
Ooh.
Because you can burst blood vessels, like if you put a lot of force into coughing or blowing your nose, you can burst
Which
the
Tommy?
blood vessels near the surface. Tommy,
That flat
tell the
fellow.
truth.
Oh, Tommy,
No.
tell the truth.
Yeah, Tommy, tell the truth.
T.
And you can, cause some blood there. But I mean,
I just want to shout out to, do I pronounce your name David Borsler? I want to by default not accept it, but it's just, I do think it's funny that I just kind of have a cold, but I'm going to add this to my little cold thing. Because I've been hearing about that shit, I really did get a tiny bit nervous, and I was fascinated by my own nervousness because it was almost like taking a peek into the world of someone that would be like scared of getting the virus, because I felt zero fear whatsoever. But I was thinking like, oh, what if they're right? What if I'm like not supposed to hug my mom? Well, fuck it, I'll just roll the dice, whatever, let's just do it. So maybe it was the fear and the idea that is causing this. Who knows?
or it could be that your
paranoid.
mom was excreting toxins and and you were like having a reaction to that.
More
Yeah.
likely. Exactly.
And,
That's the
you know,
transmission.
Not that we really even believe in him, but Fauci was on some radio station, this like quick little interview, and they asked him, are people safe to wear the because they have to be told everything. Are people safe now
Yeah.
to take off their mask now that they have the vax? And he says, in his retarded sounding way, basically what he told them is, yes, you're safe to take, you should still wear the mask, is what he said. But yes, you're protected because you have the vax. However, you can catch something and give it to someone who's not vaxxed, which is why you should wear the mask. And then he ends his little statement by saying, but are you safe now that you have the mask? Yeah, now that you have the vax, yes, you're protected. So he said, you are protected with the vax. Then he says you can get sick and give it to someone else. Then he says you're protected.
What the fuck?
Back and forth, back and forth. And
How these
yesterday,
people could
I
rot in hell.
Wicked
I
retarded.
just read an article. Oh my God, I cannot believe what they're doing to the minds of these people. I just read an article yesterday that said all of the hand washing and sterilizing that is now useless, that they did for a full year. And it even said in the article, it said, well, the WHO made a mistake and it's actually can't be transferred through surfaces, and you actually didn't need to do all that. And chemicals are actually not good for you, by the way. And then it even said in the last paragraph, so how does it make you feel knowing that you scrubbed frantically for a year for nothing? It actually said that. And that's,
They will.
oh my God.
They will say that, and what they are doing is your immune system is a natural interacting, growing thing. You definitely pick up areas around you. It used to be when in the 70s and 80s, again, they told you if you traveled to Mexico, don't drink the water because your immune system wasn't used to it yet. It took a local person to, and it was foreign items for your immune system. If you do want to get a group of people to get sick quickly and all together, all you have to do is have them throw sanitizer on everything, cover themselves in chemicals, get rid of the natural enzymes and things like that, put a mask on, don't let them be around other people, and then all at once say take your mask off and go out there, because you will get a whole group of people that are going to get sick because they lived in a little bubble that wasn't healthy.
Yep.
Anybody that lives in that little bubble and then goes out and throws himself out in a group of people probably will get sick, but you're doing it to yourself. In other words, your immune system is interactive. You can't not give it anything and tell it, don't fight anything, and then all of a sudden, give it life. It's meant to work. It's meant to go out there. It's meant for you to touch dirt. It's meant for you to interact with germs.
Mm-hmm.
And they know that. They know it's not healthy to spray everything with chemicals, and that the bad, it's not healthy. It can't be. It's not good. It's not natural.
It even said in that article, there have been, by the way, chemicals are dangerous, and the amount of calls to the to 911 or whatever, and visits to the ER were up some whatever percent during the year of COVID from people with chemical reactions and similar things.
Yeah, you do. You put yourself, you destroy that. You put the perfumes, the chemicals, all the sanitizers. You will make yourself sick. You live the way they want you to live, and put the mask on, breathe your CO2, and breathe all that crap in day after day. You will get sick. Again, work a hot job in a mask. Try to breathe. It's asking yourself, it's telling your body, I'm not letting you be exposed to anything natural. Almost like a list. What can I do to shut you down? It's really scary.
I also personally have come through this year and really thank it for just blowing germ theory completely out of any realm of reality. I no longer see that I'm dealing with enemies. That is the illusion. Everything is rigged in our favor. God only invented stuff that's pro-life. And again, with Berlando's theory, it's not really a theory. I've seen it for myself on pleomorphism. Actually, watching, a healthy bacteria in a healthy environment turn into a bad bacteria in a different environment, and it's still a good bacteria. It's just doing a different job. It's like the cleanup crew. Right. Mm-hmm. So it's not an invasion, and you have to get rid of them. That's why antibiotics are so incredibly nasty. It's just to bring the environment back to a place where it supports more pleasant life, because otherwise that's like dying while you're alive. Right. You got the death crew going, but it's still all in your service. So yes. Yeah, I no longer see my world as dangerous because how convenient. If we believe in germ theory, then inside of you it's mostly microbiome. That would make it your enemy inside.
Mm-hmm.
Stephanie Martin, it reminds me of fulvic minerals to get a sample of the soil for the summer. Oh, there was a question here asking if anyone has read The Invisible Rainbow. I have not, but Eileen McCusick and so many others who I very much respect have recommended that book. Is it comparable to The Universal One? Does it have to kind of do with electromagnetic? There it is.
Nice.
What's up, Karen?
Nice.
Talk to us about it.
This is a big book. It's a long book. I have not read it all yet. I mostly look in the beginning, and when I want to read it, and I just kind of look in here and read different chapters. But it's a long book, but it's very interesting. And
is that the one that Andrew Kaufman quotes quite a bit?
Probably.
Mm-hmm.
It's the history of electricity and life by Arthur Furstenberg, and it talks about how there's actually. Let me see if I can find it. The one page I actually shared this. Table 1, effects of electricity as reported in the 18th century, because when they first had electricity and the grid was, they started building the grid and stuff, they did all kinds of stuff with electricity, and they did all kinds of little parlor tricks where they would make everybody hold hands and send a shock through everybody at the same time. And when they would do that, there's a thing in here that talks about that when they would do that there were some times where the shock would stop at one person and it wouldn't complete the circle because that particular person was not a conductor of electricity for whatever reason. They couldn't complete the circuit. And so everybody, what they found out is that everybody is affected by electricity differently. Everybody. And the effects of electricity Non-therapeutic effects: dizziness, nausea, headaches, nervousness, irritability, mental confusion, depression, insomnia, drowsiness, fatigue, weakness, numbness and tingling, muscle and joint pains, muscle spasms and cramps, backache, heart palpitations, chest pain, colic, diarrhea, constipations, nosebleeds, hemorrhage, itching, tremors, seizures, paralysis, fever, respiratory infections, shortness of breath, coughing, wheezing, and asthma attacks, eye pain, weakness and fatigue, ringing in the ears, metallic taste. I mean, what? That's like everything that you could ever
Everything.
have wrong with you. Everything.
Crazy.
Everything that you could ever have wrong with you is a known side effect of being exposed to electrical currents.
Yeah, because it's all frequency. I want to welcome Young Love 4020 to the stage. I put the link in the chat in case anyone wanted to come and join with a burning desire to share a cool and interesting story, maybe from when you were 16 or anything else interesting that comes to mind. Hello, my friend.
Hi, can you hear me? Probably not. I don't think you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Yes, we can
Oh,
hear
is there
you.
any echo or anything?
No, you sound fantastic. What is up, my friend?
Perfect. I'm great. I'm just chilling. I have a question for you ladies, because we're all ladies here. You know how when we cycle, sorry men in the chat, you might just, whatever, we're females. Get used to it. When you cycle with women, you have your period and you kind of connect when, say, like my mom, when she used to have her periods, we used to cycle at the same time type of thing. Is anyone obviously familiar with that? Like,
Yeah. What
Of
about it?
course, office.
Yes.
Yeah, everybody at the
Okay.
office does it together, and it happens with
Yes.
the moon. Yes.
Okay. I wonder if it's like the same thing with like when you get a cold or something. Does your body do the same thing? Like if you see someone like a friend with a cold or, whatever, does your body do the same thing to try to get rid of, I
I think
was
it's a
kind of
response
curious.
to the environment. I think that everyone
Right.
is responding to environment. So the people that don't get sick, maybe their bodies have all the nutrients and have detoxified so that it's properly like in a state of constant healing where it's not going to do that. But there's also like a detoxification season that everyone goes through, and some people just have more shit to expel, whether it's out of their lungs. Like some people, I think that they expel toxins out of their lungs, and those people are probably more prone to allergies and stuff. And then there's other people that will maybe expel more out of their skin, and so maybe they have like weird BO. But actually, isn't weird BO actually just people being retarded and putting aluminum on their armpits? Isn't that what causes it? Like if you just like don't use all that shit, then you don't smell that bad usually.
It's internal toxicity. I'm totally
I think
tuned
it has
in
a
with my
lot to
body
do
odor.
with your diet.
Yep.
The cleaner
Exactly.
you eat, the less you stink.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Rose and Young Love, there's also that other connection, though, the electrical or the person connection that I'm going to throw in that Young Love might be talking about. That, for instance, when I was pregnant, Bob was sick as a dog with morning sickness that I'd have all day, but I mean, he could feel it. Or if I have like a knife in my back, or he has a knife in his back, I can feel it on me where it is on him. I can like go right to the spot and point to it, say, do you have something going on here? Because I don't think I deserve this bad of a pain. And he's like, how do you know that? So there's definitely some type of an exchange, especially if there's somebody that you're close to. We kind of laughed at it, but asked Bob how funny it is that he got morning sickness when I was pregnant. I thought it was, but he not so much with him.
Right. You got to experience something. You can't just get away with not feeling anything, right? As far as
No,
the
he-
diet is
Fascinating.
concerned.
No, but you do. You feel like when your partner is down. I think, Rose, be honest, if Jason is down or that too, there's an energy around it that you can pick up on. And so more than like germs or pathogens or something else, there's something in the electrical field or something between people. How many times, even with your intuition or that, if something is wrong, how many times you feel it before that phone rings? You just know
Yes. Oh
when
my
something
gosh,
happens
I
to
have
somebody close. It's
Yes.
real. They don't have to be in the same room. They don't have to be within your electrical field, but you can feel
Yes.
when things
I have a
happen.
crazy story. A few months ago, my mother-in-law passed away, and I was at work. And I just got this crazy feeling, and I texted my mom and my husband, and I'm like, is everything okay? What's wrong? And then like I guess like an hour later he got a call saying his mother had passed away. So it was wild.
Sorry to hear it.
Yes, but you know, she was a good woman. At least she went before all this COVID crap, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that emotions can cause illness as well. And so if you're like an empath, or if you have empathy pains, or like I was saying before, like with fear, I think that all of these things contribute. And that some people, they'll just have some kind of like a perfect storm, and then they'll get really, really sick. But
I like
I don't
what you
know.
said,
Did we
Rose.
answer your question? Do you
Yeah.
feel like we answered it?
Yeah, I have another aspect to
definitely.
that. Let's do another
Yeah, I
aspect.
definitely
One
agree. I
more.
think there's just probably like a connection, you know, like you have with people, you know, your loved ones and all that. You get connected through, you know, like the heart and the ether, and you just, you know, you connect with one another and you feel, you know, the empathy. And that could be it, or like, you know, there could be a lot of things like Rose mentioned, the whole, you know, seasonal, you know, your body just getting rid of all the toxins and.
Yeah, look at this comment here. Realize, realize, realize. I love everything that you're saying. First, you were mentioning the invisible rainbow earlier, and now you're bringing this up. I wouldn't be surprised if there is some kind of index in a government, you know, website that requires a username and password to get in, has the frequencies listed to do an abortion, to do a heart attack, to do a brain aneurysm. And we know that they have the what is it called? The active denial systems that they use in war to give people pain. I think that they probably have this really down to a science. What do you ladies think? Do you think that they know these specific frequencies already, or are they in the process of trying to discover them?
I think, and I know that they know them entirely.
They know.
Yeah, they have them. We have them measured. We know what they do. It's you can't say, "Do you wonder?" You do know, Rose. I wanted to go back to emotions and sickness because I think that we didn't cover one of the biggest ones that cause sickness, and this is something that happened. I noticed even with my dad. When he was in trouble with my mom and she really wasn't talking to him, he would get sick. A lot of us are programmed as children that when you get sick, that's when you really get taken care of, especially if you're in a big family or something. So you get attention, you get warm, fuzzy, you get taken care of when you're sick. And a lot of the times emotionally, I think that we will go back and revert to getting sick when we want to be taken care of. When everything feels overwhelming, we'll physically put our body in a state of sickness to excuse the wanting to get taken care of. If I'm sick, people, you know, there's, you know, people will take care of me or whatever. And I mean, I think you can make yourself sick and play the victim and get stuck in that victimhood because you really are sick. If you feel sick, you really are sick. You really are miserable. But a lot of the times, I think you do it to yourself without, like my dad, if I would tell him my dad passed. And so I talked to him in my dreams. But if you were to say to him that you would get, you know, did you get sick to do this? He would say like, no. But, you know, for instance, if she really was mad at him every time after time, my mom knew, I knew, the ladies knew that we'd wait for dad to get sick if he was in trouble because then she couldn't stay mad and would take care of him. And
I had a boyfriend like that he would go down when he needed more of my attention. And it was like, dude, this is the wrong way to go about it. And I would do it too. Absolutely. Now I even caught myself in this when I need to get my own attention, right? If I need more of my own love and approval, I'll get sick to get my own attention. It's like, Beth, you don't need to do that. You can just give yourself your own attention.
I think all of us do it to ourselves more than we realize. I'm guilty too. I'm very guilty. But it's something real out there that we should, you know, put on the radar is, do I really don't feel good? What's affecting it? I tried to, like, you know, figure it out. Sometimes you can't with a migraine headache and you're throwing up. But could it be that you just want to be taken care of and that's your instinct on how to do it?
Exactly. You don't give yourself permission to take a break or do the things or just go have some fun, whatever would boost your energy up. And actually I woke up yesterday and I had a cold. Like I was, all of a sudden I was sick. I had a sore throat. I wasn't feeling good. And I just started popping garlic, chop it up fine and swallow it like pills. So over the course of the day, I had 3 big cloves of garlic, completely killed it, some turpentine, some immune boost, and completely over it. So
How
that
much
was
did you
awesome.
drink the turpentine?
Probably over the course of a day, a teaspoon. Not very much. I'm pretty judicious with it now because I've had a few accidents, which are really just a heavy detox, feeling sick, and then having to purge one way or another. So it's not the end of the world. It's still actually good for you because you're cleansing, but nobody wants to go through that so intense.
I still have never done it, and I'm wondering if I should do like a quarter of a teaspoon.
A drop. Start with 1 drop, and then you see the effect of it. And the next day you could move to 2 drops and 3 drops, and you'll find your sweet spot. Like if I take a whole teaspoon at one time, it's way too much. But if I take a teaspoon over the course of a day, just fine. So I'll take, it's probably 5 or 10 drops at the very most at one
So
time
what
now.
is it for? What's it for?
It's one of those catch-alls. If I only had one thing, one remedy when the apocalypse hits and we can't get anything, it would be turpentine because it's anti. I mean, this is talking in germ theory, but it's anti-toxicity, it's anti-parasite. If you have an infection, you can use it both topically and internally. Anti-candida, right? So it helps you to get your biome back in order by just cleaning up the environment again. It will actually. I mean, they talk about it more like germ theories. So it's always going to kill the bad bacteria. Now I don't believe that. It's more just giving an opportunity for the environment to become a healthy one again. But I like it. It's good.
And how do you take it again?
Drink it.
I just put the drops on my mouth, and I'm careful not to let it go down my throat because it's very strong. It's straight oil of pine, so I just chase it with some water.
It's crazy. And I've heard that people have had amazing experiences with getting parasites out of their body with turpentine. And so if you want to be brave and do a little Google search on your own time, turpentine, parasite, those 2 words, and if you click on images, well,
Don't look at
don't
them.
say I didn't warn you.
Yeah, exactly. It's good to be careful with it, and definitely don't get it at the hardware store. You want to get food grade organic stuff that's
Yeah.
really totally intended for internal use.
I just ordered some. I have some, but I haven't even opened it or tried it yet. So
Okay. Yeah, Diamond Forest is a really good brand. There
I
in
think
the
that's
US.
what I have.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like the black and yellow label.
Exactly. Yeah, I pay
Yeah.
a fortune for it. And
It
then
needs to say
yeah,
Pure Gum Spirits.
exactly.
Yeah. I got David Weiss sent me the link to the type he gets, so it's whatever type he gets, and I ordered some.
Same here.
Right on. It's good when I've got
Yeah,
a stockpile of it.
So between turpentine and shilajit and fulvic minerals and getting a lot of vitamin C and magnesium, everyone needs like 10 times more
MSM
magnesium than the
sulfur.
daily. Yeah, DMSO. Aren't
DM.
those 2 related? They're similar.
No, MSM sulfur is just another supplement. It's just like vitamin C. You just get it in crystal form, and you just, add it.
Oh, I was
your
thinking
stuff.
MMS. Sorry. MMS
Yeah,
is
MMS
different.
is something different.
Yeah. and that's also
MSM
interesting.
sulfur. It's sulfur crystal. It's basically like, it's one of the building blocks of life.
Yeah, we started taking borax, the boron that someone just mentioned for the possible parasites or nano worms that we're dealing with, and it was easy, just a pinch in a glass of water. You can't taste it. Nothing wrong going on there. Easy for kids too. And I just heard people that have fully cured themselves from full on Morgellons that I thought didn't exist, but now, Rose, I'm way more convinced. Absolutely.
Yeah, Beth, now since you had worms in your mask, obviously your environment has them, like whether it's from the masks or whatever. Have you done a bath, like with Epsom salts, or tried to do one of those detox baths? Because I would love people to do this and then report results to me.
Right, and that's to bring the metals out of your body? Is that what you're
Yeah,
talking about? Like where
the metals and the fibers, if you have fibers in your
Okay,
body. Apparently, if it's a thing, but I've seen videos, so I mean, I'm buying it. at this point.
I also I heard a lot of firsthand accounts of it from a podcast the other day, and just kind of went like, yeah, this is a thing, and it explains scientifically exactly how it happens, and how the silica fibers actually grow. You can observe them growing and moving, and organizing and coming together to create what I'm not sure exactly what they're up to.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, everybody's talking about nanotechnology and nanobots and how do they make little robots that small? They don't, you guys. They don't. It's crystalline matter. And and crystals can hold information and be programmed. Okay?
Right.
It's just like why everything is so small. Everything technological is getting smaller and smaller. This information can be held in microscopic crystalline particles, and all they have to do is know to look for other certain compounds or certain minerals that are being introduced into most people's environment just based on whatever food they eat or the water they drink. Especially if you live in a big city, I'm sure there's all kinds of crap in there, and it's going through your system, and all these things could just be, picking it up as it goes away, picking up the material to build whatever it is that they're trying to build. And actually, I just, this is how I've been thinking about how it works after like reading some stuff about, crystalline bonds and how the bonds work and stuff. And then I'm taking this class right now on crystal healing, right? It's a bunch of like crystal rubbers, right? Okay, so I'm in the group, and this lady puts a post, and she's like, and it's a electron microscope photograph of a very, and it's the flower of life, and it says the thing above the picture said, this is a strand of DNA sliced in half, and it makes the flower of life, blah, blah, blah. And right away, thank goodness, there were two other women who were calling bullshit on the picture, right? Because I was like, please don't make me have to be the one to come in here and like destroy this picture right now. But there were already two other women in there. And another woman, I guess she did like a reverse image Google search. And I clicked on the article, and it said nano sculpture. Okay. So what it was is they have these microscopic crystalline particles, and they have them. In fact, let me see if I can bring it up and show you on the screen, because it's better if you can see it.
I like that DM
Hold
said
on one
cappuccino
sec.
up the butt now.
While Karen is getting that up, Basira says, what do I think of the feminist movement and the loneliness epidemic? I think that the feminist movement is retarded, and that we shouldn't be thinking in those divisive ways, that everyone can bring something valuable to the table, and everybody's unique and different, and focusing on these movements. If there's a movement associated with it, I'm highly suspicious of it. And the loneliness epidemic, well, it's very sad when people experience loneliness, and that's why I think that communities like ours are so important, so that people don't have to feel alone. But I don't know exactly what you mean by loneliness epidemic. If that's your way of describing it, or if that's like a specific label for an idea. Has anyone else here heard of the loneliness epidemic?
Not in particular, but for sure, and that was the funny part about COVID when they isolated everybody. Everyone was already isolated. It wasn't a big stretch. And how many people did you hear say that? Oh, well, my life hasn't changed at all. I still just sit at home and do my thing, whatever it is. Right. So I think that's been going on for a long time. And then they just formalized it and gave people an excuse to not connect with people, because that takes effort and planning, and you have to work through relationship things that come up. So I think it's been that isolation, and I always say that purpose and connection are so intimately tied, if not the same thing. So of course, if people have no connection, they're having this loneliness experience, then they're going to feel purposeless. And purposeless people are going to become zombies much more easily.
Yeah. Does anyone else have anything else to say about feminism, or maybe the difference between? Karen brought her thing up, so let's do that first.
Okay, yeah. So I wanted to show you guys this stuff with nano sculpture. Okay. This is crazy, right? This is all
Whoa.
stuff with electron microscopes. Okay. And they talk about how they're growing these carbon tubes. This is all related to them,
Holy mackerel.
making these needles and stuff. But check this out right here. Okay. This one right here.
Whoa.
Flower of life, nano sculpture. Okay, so this is not natural. I don't know what they did, but they made something. They made these microscopic crystals grow in this formation. They told them to do it and they did it, and then they photographed it with an electron microscope. Okay, and then here's the thing there's another one that I just found when I was searching for that one. I just typed in nano sculpture.
So
Is it
they're
still
actually
here?
creating these like under
Yes.
microscope. Okay, yeah. So artists
Right.
are going for it. Wow.
So
We're
look,
growing the
okay.
crystals like this. Yes, that's how good it is. That's how good we are.
Holy,
So here's the eye of a needle, and then they look at this.
unbelievable.
So if you see, and so when I look at stuff like this is when I'm like, okay, they can put these tiny little things in your body. You don't even know they're there. And they know exactly what to do when they're inside of you, and they know what to build, and they know what to look for, and they know where to go. Okay.
And they could be
So
dormant for a time too, right? They don't have any instructions yet, but that's the whole 5G thing coming up. Oops,
that
darn, I
too.
shouldn't say that. Sorry, Rose.
That too. They could be activated by certain frequencies. Exactly.
And I'm going to tie all of this together, saying that feminism, what it did was, it took the mothers away from the children, away from the families, and dehumanized us in a way so this could happen behind our backs. So all of this could be set up. I really think, again, what they did with the family structure is just wrong with the both parents working and the nanny state raising our children. But yes, we have the technology to do this, and not only are we doing this, but we're doing chimeras. If you look in the news this week, we created the first monkey human crossbreed. We are playing creation right now. These are the times right now that we need to be paying attention, because we have the technology and we have the ways and means to do creation right now, and we're making really, really, really bad choices, like biblically bad choices with it. We're changing the vaccine, changes the RNA, changes the DNA, changes who we are as people through the vaccines. These people know, if you do research, they know how to fix mental problems that people have, like being religious, via vaccine. They can take out that passion feeling out of you that's built into your system. They can give you a vaccine to remove that. They can give you a vaccine to make you sterile. They can do anything in a vaccine right now. They can, and they do. And the reason we put them in vaccines and not in other shots and medicines is vaccines have complete immunity. These manufacturers, and that there's no liability, especially something that has not been approved by the FDA, which this has not been. They have zero accountability, zero liability, zero anything. If everybody that just took the vaccine is sterile, there's nobody to blame or sue or anything, because, oh no, they were only trying to help, and we knew that it was still experimental. And how will you know what 3-year results are or 5-year results are until you get to 3 years or 5 years? They have the perfect out by having to create this for it. We're going in really, really ugly directions, and that feminism is what, like, a good lead into it. Keeping the women so busy earning money that they lost track of their children and lost track of life growing in the gardens, and they lost track of reality. They made us women with feminism lose track of reality and what's really important. And I say, fuck the fucking fuckers.
Hell yeah.
For sure. Fuck the fucking fuckers.
Well, ladies, we're almost reaching the 2-hour mark. Why don't we make some closing statements for the panel on the topics of the evening, messages for the audience, and hopes for the future? Go for it, Beth.
All right. So, yeah, a beautiful discussion. Great to bring our childhood forward. And I've got a 14-year-old, so I'm kind of wondering how much payback there's going to be for me as he becomes a teenager. But so, yeah, I think it's a good chance to just be really real about your own what you've been through and heal that stuff as your best chance to have a good relationship with your kid as they go through that. And if I could just share a couple of things that are coming up, Matt Landman reached out and asked for an interview, so I've got him on Wednesday. Yeah, pretty cool. He was on my radar, and then all of a sudden I got an email, so that was fun. And Matt Belair and myself are putting together a law summit, so we're in the process of scheduling that and got some good ones already. Looks like it'll start the week of May 3rd, so we're going to get going with that, and I think that's about it.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Beth. That sounds awesome. Crow was on Matt Belair recently, so he's got a big YouTube channel, Matt Belair. So everyone should go check out Matt's channel, and and you're doing that with him. And then, who was the other person that you just mentioned that
Matt
you were going to have
Landman.
on your show? Oh, Matt Landman.
Yeah.
He's been
Yeah.
on Crow 777 Radio for a couple of times. So that sounds awesome. What about you,
Frankenskies too.
Cammie? Oh, I'm sorry, Beth. What did you say?
He's got Frankenskies 2 coming out.
Oh, really?
Okay,
That's
cool.
cool.
All right. Yeah, well, that'll probably be a great documentary because Frankenstein is the first one that came out. What was that, in 2017? That was a great documentary on geoengineering. And it starts off where you just go through kind of the timeline of, it starts off with clips from Congress and government, and basically everything's just all out in the open and admitted. It's just using mainstream sources to show what's going on. So that's great, Beth. Anything else before I move on to Cammie?
No, go for it. But thanks so much for hosting tonight, Rose. It was really
All right.
nice.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Mwah. Thank you, Beth. And Cammie, what is on your mind to close out over all of the topics I described?
Over all of it, thank you everybody for being here and listening. Free speech must prevail. We're going places. On my mind is what we're doing with Rockfin, and knowing that Beth has put out her application and Rose has put out her application. And Karen, have you done your application yet?
For Rockfin, yes, I did that today. I did.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. This is exciting, people, because again, the ability to speak freely, which I'd like to do more on with the blood types and viruses, and that we cannot do here. So it's
There's a lot of things I don't talk about on YouTube because I know they'll just take my channel down completely, and took me a long time to build it up, and I don't think I could rebuild a channel on YouTube like I just can't. I couldn't.
Exactly, and they can on that. Yeah. Oh no, that's it. Iron Realm Media, Bitches Brew, Globebusters, Iron Realm. We are coming off of. We have 2 more weeks until we're off of our strike and on our main channel. Right now, we're at Iron Realm Media podcast. Globebusters, I'm doing tons of. I have a full spectrum camera coming tomorrow. I've got all kinds of research in the background. My plates are overflowing right now. So much to do, and beautiful spring weather to do it in. So thank everybody. Thank you all.
All right, Cammie, thank you so much. Mwah, I love you. And Young Love 4020, I'm so glad that you joined us. That was such a great treat, and I can still remember holding you in my arms when we hugged at the solar return. What do you have to say about what you heard while you were still in the audience, and then closing out, any thoughts you have on anything?
I just want to say you gals are amazing. I haven't... It just makes me speechless, like the talent and just the smartness in this community. You guys are awesome. I'm looking forward to Oktoberfest. I can't wait to see you guys again. And hugs. I just, you guys are awesome. And yes, I'm going to go to bed now because it's past my bedtime. But yes, I love you gals.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Young Love.
Love you too.
Thank you.
Love, thank you so much.
Bye.
All right, Karen, what about you?
What about me?
How would you like to, what are your closing thoughts before we end the stream?
My closing thoughts are, well, just, I would say just, don't be scared. Just take care of yourself. Learn to take care of yourself. Eat clean. Eat clean. That's all I can't stress that enough. The less toxins you take into your body, the less work you have to do getting rid of them. So just be very careful about what you take into your system. And that's probably the best defense you'll ever have. And Tuesday I have Mark Sargent. I have Strange World with Mark Sargent. And I have some other stuff, the videos I'll be releasing on my channel. So stuff, more Flattoberfest 2020 stuff, and also stuff from Solar Return. So that's
Awesome. Thank you, Karen. And Steffi P, you are such a freaking badass. I love you so much. What do you have to say to close it out before I end with another song?
I want to say thank you for hosting. You're a wonderful host, Rose. You're just so good at what you do, and a natural. And then, kind of what Karen said, and looking in the chat, and I saw somebody said earlier, we're being hit by Satan's tricks or something on every level. And like Karen said, we're being constantly bombarded. So not to think negatively or anything, but if you are prepared and taking care of yourself, then you can acknowledge that every once in a while and use it productively. The only time it's dangerous when we talk about how many things are going wrong is when we're not taking proactive measures for ourselves. So that being said, I just want to mention, Karen, what you posted earlier. I think at what point do we draw the line on how much more we're going to let this continue? You were with Brian yesterday when every once in a while you got to lose it, because it's getting to the point where we've been quiet and we've been nice. And I was listening to Rose's, I just found your rant the other day that I'd never heard before about the mask. And I listened to it like 3-4 times. I sent it to my mom, like she loved it. And what was my point? Where you said, I'm just not going to keep quiet. And being nice does not work anymore. So where do we draw the line? And Karen posted something earlier, and it just like, that's where I draw the line with the children. This is why it's going to need to stop, because it's going to get hot here. And your post really made me think about this. It's going to be hot here, like over 100. And I will make a commitment to myself and to the children and to everyone in the community that I'm going to take a walk down to the park. I'm going to start videotaping. And when I see a child running around in 100-degree weather or 90-degree weather, I used to have a problem. I used to call the school district and complain when they had the kids out at all, when it was that hot out. And now I'm going to make a phone call, and I'm going to start calling CPS. And I'm not trying to scare these kids or anything like that, but I have a problem. How much longer are we going to pretend like this isn't the worst child abuse we've ever seen? And you're going to add to that they're going to be running around in the heat with their mouths and nose covered up. This is getting to be horrible and sick. And
medical experimentation on children and calling it virtuous.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, well, that's the biggest problem is they're doing it. Now, if you think you're helping your child, that's one thing. That's still not right. But if you're doing it because you think, this is actually a real thing right now. We have parents out there that are doing this to be virtuous. They're putting a mask on their child when they don't even think that their child is safe. They're doing it. They're harming their child. And they're going to do the vaccine just so they can fit in. I knew a few years ago when parents started being told that their children had to get these boosters or they couldn't go back to school. I went to both of my kids' schools. I went right up to the office and I said, I need a blue waiver form, because I did the research and I found out that they could not tell us that there were exclusions, and I filed the exclusion. But when these parents were believing that they had no choice, saw parents who were afraid, didn't trust vaccines, even thought all kinds of scary things about them, and they still got their kids vaccinated and sent them to school. So this is where that realization moving forward, and we've seen what these parents can do. We've seen what they're willing to do to their kids, and I think we owe it to everyone and the community to stand up in our own way. I'm not saying I know what those ways are, but we've got to do something because this is now the children, It's serious.
All of this is a major attack on the children. That's the biggest, always the biggest victim in anything that happens like this is the children.
Exactly. They have the most
And-
source energy.
One more thing really quick. Brian and I, we haven't done a show in a long time, but we're going to do one tomorrow night. I forgot the time. 10:45, 11 o'clock Eastern. We're going to be talking about manifestation and the potential blocks to the manifestation of creating our own reality and things that are going on politically in the community and things like that.
Nice.
Excellent.
That's a good
That's going to be
subject.
great. Everyone's been doing some great streams recently. So, everyone, we're just going to keep doing what we're doing. We're going to talk. We're going to hang out. We're going to do our research. And most of all, we're going to find the truth. We're going to continue on our search for the truth. I can't believe we went through this whole entire stream without talking about the double sun anomaly. But maybe I'll be able to do a poppycock report in the morning on Tuesday, I hope. So
Yeah,
everyone,
Rose, what's going on with you, Rose? You didn't say that. You didn't say
Oh,
what's going on
well,
with Rose.
I have Jeranism Raw on Monday nights, which is my favorite thing ever. I love my chats with Jaren and David, and of course it's my time where I'm actually on the air with Jason, so I love that. And then Baldini and I were kind of like hit and miss with the poppycock report, but we're just like going to be casual, and if we can do it, we'll do it, and hopefully we'll get our shit together soon and we'll come back full force. And then what else? I think I'm just going to try and continue to do as many streams as possible, like during the day of the week. Like, I was thinking of maybe doing something with Ben Balderson soon, and I've been meaning to do a little stream with Waters Above. There's a lot of people that have been contacting me with interesting ideas, and so as I have time, I'll just try to do it randomly. But I'm always really excited for Karen on Strange World on Tuesday nights, and Karen and Brian on Thursdays, and Beth has had so many great streams. So if anyone ever wants to go live with me here to promote something that you're about to do, I always love doing that too, and it's just like a quick way to say hi to people. So just don't hesitate to reach out to me to like just be a cheerleader.
That's awesome. I'll call on you Wednesday then.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Oh, and Glowbusters is happening on Wednesdays now. So.
That's right. Glowbusters on Wednesday. What about the Glowbusters? Excellent, Rose. So fun.
Oh, I can't
times.
believe that you didn't mention Glowbusters when you were on Crow 777 Radio for, I don't know why, but all of a sudden my hat is, like, tilted weird. And I'm really glad we're going to end the stream now because I can't handle it. But yeah, so I guess what we're going to have to do is I really would love to have Zach on Crow 777 Radio as soon as possible. And this is just up to him and his schedule because it is summer and he is gardening and doing a bunch of cool shit that requires the daylight. So anyway, eventually, and then we have to have Bob on Crow 777 Radio too. We have to do
Definitely.
like the whole make sure the whole gang
Yeah,
gets
the whole
on
household.
there.
The whole
But
household.
you were the first person I wanted to get on from that friend group, you know, but I'm so glad I waited because it was such a freaking perfect thing for you to come on with the double
That's perfect
sun. So
timing. Yeah.
I kind of just wait for those critical moments where I just know it's going to happen when there's something like really significant to like bring up as a hot topic. So.
Well, yeah, and with the Zacchaeus, with the gardening, we'll go into the dog days of summer where it gets a lot easier. But right now, this is putting in the garden beds, and there's a whole lot going on. It's springtime. It's a good thing. So I loved it. Loved being on Crow. Loved being on your channel last night, Rose.
That was
Thank
great.
you. That was
Yeah,
great.
It was awesome. Yeah.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much. I am going to share my screen now, and we're going to play the Beat Freak song, I'm a Flat Earther. And cheers. Love you all.
Cheers.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Hi. I'm a flat earther.
Oh, wait, it's not playing.
I'm a flat earther.
Hey, my name is Tristan and I'm in second grade and I asked my teacher to show me an experiment where water curves. She couldn't do it because it doesn't curve. The water always finds its level.
What'd your teacher do?
She just didn't talk to me anymore. All she did was walk away. And I was like, what is this about? What?
That's okay though. For being so young, you're very, very smart. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So keep up the good work, man, and stay flat, okay?
Okay, I'm a flat earther. She couldn't do it. I'm a flat earther. I'm a flat earther. I'm a flat earther. I'm a flat Hey, my name is Tristan and I'm in second grade and I asked my teacher to show me an experiment where water curves. She couldn't do it because it doesn't curve. The water always finds its level.
What'd your teacher do?
She just didn't talk to me anymore. All she did was walk away. And I was like, what is this about? What?
That's okay though. For being so young, you're very, very smart. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So keep up the good work, man, and stay flat, okay?
Okay, I'm a flat earther. She couldn't do it.
Rip this up for sound bites. This is awesome.